Hi, I'm Paul Unger from PlaceTech. Welcome back. Today I'm joined by Miloš Halečka from MiddleCap. MiddleCap is a Central European investor and developer with offices in Bratislava, London, and Berlin. And MiddleCap's just finished its first UK project in London, actually in late 2021, called Southworks, which was one of London's smartest office buildings of the last few years. And a second project is due on site shortly, called Seal House. And Miloš is innovation director at MiddleCap. So he's the guy that looks out for all the new tech to put into projects. Welcome today, Miloš.
Hello, Paul. Pleasure to be here.
So tell us about how did you come to be developing in the UK, and tell us about those first projects that you've got there.
Well, as you mentioned, MiddleCap has offices in Slovakia, UK, and Germany. But the story of the team, which actually runs the UK operations, it's longer than that. All of us, we knew each other before we all joined MiddleCap, and we all used to work for HB Reeves, one of the biggest Central European developers, also
Okay.
active in London. So this was not new for us. And basically the reason, or I can talk for myself, the reason why we have all decided to start with MiddleCap, I think it's almost 5 years ago, was that the the strategy of the company is basically focused on be as innovative as we can. So since we are a small company, it has its disadvantages, but it has so many advantages that we have decided, okay, let's go for it. And we decided to deliver products which will have, among others, the technology part, which should be so innovative that I've decided to join. And I'm glad to work on these things because, as I said, since we are a small team, the decision process is not that complicated, not that long. And the risk taking attitude is also a bit different than in a huge development company. So even if Southworks was our first project in London as a company, it was not our first project as a team. So I think that all the experience which we got in the past was somehow then realized in our first project, and hopefully it will be also in the next one.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about Southworks. What is it? How big is it? And then why is it so smart?
Southwark is an office building in Southwark in London. It has about 70,000 square feet, and basically from the beginning we knew that as this is our first project, we'd like to show what we are capable of. So using our previous experience and like the market knowledge, we were searching for the best technology solutions which we can utilize in that building. And after like months of research, we basically formulated the technology brief for that building, which translates into, let's say, all the other briefs which we have for our other projects. Uh, I'm a person with a technology background, so I really don't want to comment on the architectural part because it will be just my, like a layperson opinion. But from the technology part, we have said that we will always search for the best. And for the best, I mean uh, to deliver technologies which will make sense for the tenants, for the landlord, and also for the future investor. Since we are a development company, at the end, we'd like to transact the building to the investor. So as for me, the main goal was to collect all the data which is possible from the building for I would say a reasonable price and complexity. So I think you and all the listeners are already aware that there are like thousands of opportunities to get onto the market and search for sensors and smart and whatever new
Yeah.
buzzwords we will come up with. So I'd say that what we decided to go for was we call it a digital backbone, which is more like a marketing term, but in reality, it is a digital backbone. So basically, we delivered a set of sensors which are able to collect all the environmental data, the presence of the people within the building. Uh, they are able to be connected to the building itself. Either is it as a Bluetooth gateway for changing the room temperature, the lighting, and so on. So for us, it was a way how to collect all the environmental and occupancy data from the building. And it's not limited only to that part. One of the design principles which we wanted to utilize was flexibility. So for us or for the future tenant, it's really easy to relocate the sensors, to put the new sensors into the building. And this setup also supports the flexibility in terms of the design of the space, because since we do not have any physical thermostats on walls or light switches, because all of that is basically included in the sensor network, the tenants are absolutely flexible in changing their environment and the physical environment. And for us, it only means to change the technology architecture in a way that basically we can create new zones, either temperature zones or lighting zones, because everything is kind of virtualized. So
Okay.
no wires in the walls.
So you finished just over a year ago. Has it been how you expected when it's operating in performance, or are there things that you would do differently that you've learned and you're going to apply some different approaches to Seal House, the second project?
I'd say that, yes, we learned a lot. The technology we utilized in the building was not used in UK before, so there was no like market knowledge or installers which had experience with the type of technology. So basically, what we needed to engage our consultants, MEP consultants, and then the general contractor into the whole process. So we needed to onboard them upfront, so everyone would be able to say, okay, we are able to work with such a system, we are able to install it. Uh, yes, there were complications on the way, but at the end, everything went real well. And from what I know, the system has now more, let's say, business opportunities on the UK market now. There are some partner network is now like getting built. So I'd say that it was a right step. Uh,
Who did you work with? What were their names on the partner side?
the technology, the sensor technology, because it's just one part of the building, was delivered by a Dutch company called BREEAM. And on the consulting side, it was NDY for the MEP and HG Construction as a general contractor. Uh, so I think that after enabling everyone to get to know the product, we went to Netherlands. all the people within the team were introduced into the inner workings of the system, into complexity of installation, into warranties, and because it's a physical product at the end, and the replacement process, and so on and so on. So at the end, I think that everyone in the team was on board, and from the experience which we have now, there is no issue that I'm aware of which made the project more complicated than, let's say, a normal standard HVAC system together with lighting and so on.
Does that mean that the Seal House will be very similar to Southworks, or are there changes between the two?
Well, it's really hard to say at the moment, but in terms of the design goals, it should be, I would say, even better than Southworks. We have decided to go for, well, I didn't say that Southworks is a BREEAM Outstanding building.
Very good.
The same should be for Seal House. We also aim for well Platinum and Neighbors 5-star certification. So all of these requirements basically do not allow us to go for a non-smart building, because in my view, if you want to, and I think you know also that it's impossible to run such a building without any technology. So the main outcome for me is that the technology approach, meaning we should have environmental sensors which are able to collect basically all the characteristics of the space, including the occupancy and CO2, should be able to talk to BMS, and they should be platform agnostic, meaning that the bigger network is able to talk to BACnet and DALI, which means that we basically can connect it to any BMS platform on the market. The main, I would say, outcome of all these activities in Southworks for me is that we would like to go for API, I would say API-based architecture, meaning that each system which will be in the building should be able to either provide an API for other systems or to consume data via API from these other systems. So we are not looking for a kind of a big solution which should cover everything. As for me, I would like to select kind of best of breed technologies on the market, and those should be able to talk to each other. That's the main requirement.
Absolutely. It's got to be integrated. And where do you see the future then? Where are we going when it comes to smart buildings? And what are the factors that people should be looking at?
So my understanding now is that we will see a lot of consolidation on the PropTech market. I think you also ran an article about the decline of PropTech investment in last year. Definitely a part of that is the economic outlook, but I'd say that now it will be much more difficult for the PropTech companies to prove the value of their product, because at the moment I see that there is so much product on the market which cannot formulate their added value compared to their competition. It's really hard to decide which one is the right for you. So as for me, I see a consolidation coming to the market, either on the let's say tenant engagement apps side. We see so many of them, and our experience or our view of that market is that I think that everyone can produce a simple tenant engagement app if it's just the air quotes an engagement app. But once you want to integrate it with the building systems, now it's a completely different story. And for me, the main value in each of these apps is the ability to integrate with the building systems, either with access control, uh, HVAC, lighting, and so on and so on. And here there are, I'd say, only a few companies which are able to deliver such integrations with uh, an acceptable level of support. Because
Yeah.
what I really miss among many of these startups, it's the enterprise level of delivery, meaning that it's not only about delivering the app, it's also about having a clear roadmap which you are able to communicate, having a standardized support system when you are able to collect the issues, to guarantee the times when you will be able to deliver new patches, and so on and so on. Not to mention the cybersecurity, which is usually the answer about the cybersecurity is that yes, we are able to, we have a complexity of passwords and that's it. So we really need to have much more than that. So I think that at least for, let's say, few years, we will still struggle to have a consolidated market. But I'd say that when the developers and the building operators become more advanced in running these technologies, because I think the reality is that many companies do not have the internal resources or the internal knowledge to be able to distinguish between marketing messages and the real technology.
Yeah.
Then the market will mature, and we will see, I think, less solutions, but more advanced. Because at
Yeah.
the end, smart building is a finite set of features. We talk about collecting the data from the building itself, collecting the data about the usage of the building, meaning occupancy and so on, collecting the data from the building systems, and basically delivering the data to their clients, meaning the tenants and the landlords. And that's it. We won't have a new type of sensor which will measure something which we are not aware of
Yeah.
today. So it's we have the playground is clear. We just need to deliver more on this defined playground, and we know what that is.
So talking about that then in the future, we're sitting here in January 2023. How is your sort of priority list shaping up for the year ahead? What's the big exciting thing or the urgent must-have uh, pain point that you need to crack and get the solution? What's sort of burning away at you in January looking ahead?
I think that the most important topic we have to deal with in coming weeks and months will be to uh, formulate the operational carbon and operational energy brief or operational mode for seal house. Because the issue which I see is to be able to have a building which will be flexible in terms of the profile of the future tenant or tenants, but also to be able to run on in a way that will be really efficient. So if we want to deliver neighbors 5-star building, and on the other side, we'd like to deliver as much services for the tenants as possible, we basically have to balance the energy spent and what we are basically delivering in the building. And as far as I know, there is no clear answer to that at the moment because
Yeah.
the experience is not yet there. And from the vendors, we hear that yes, we have systems which are able to optimize the building as it runs. We hear about machine learning and AI for years, which is, yes, that's definitely the way to go. But at the end, we will need to in cycling or in performance sports, or we call this a marginal gains. So if
Yes.
you, so it's really easy to become much better if you are a beginner. But then the more you the more you cycle or run, it's much more difficult to get the results. And this is exactly what we are facing now. So it's really easy to lower the energy consumption of the building when we start to measure the occupancy. And then we create scenarios where we will optimize the temperature and lighting on the floors which are not occupied, and so on and so on. But then you will need to work on the last mile. And I think that this is the biggest challenge which we have to expect now.
And you said at the start that you and your colleagues, your business partners, set up MiddleCap to be an innovative, smart developer. Not every company has done that. Some are more, older, more established, traditional developers that are now trying to move across to doing smart buildings. What would be your advice to them if they've come back after Christmas and New Year to say, right, this year we're going to do our first smart building? What would be your advice from the experiences that you've had so far?
Before I started to work in the real estate, I spent my whole professional career in the standard IT slash technology. So uh, I used to be a programmer and a data analyst and an architect. And so everything I say will be from that standpoint, from the standpoint of a person working with technologies for many years, I would say. I'm old enough to say many years,
Yeah.
but from different verticals, mainly banking, telco, and so on. And always the discussion starts with the question, what do we want to achieve? Like, what is the ultimate goal? And if the ultimate goal for us is to, let's say, uh, to understand how our portfolio behaves, how much energy does the building X, building Y, and building Z consume, and are we able to compare them? Then once people have the basic questions like, okay, we'd like to lower the operational carbon, we'd like to optimize the energy spent in the existing portfolio, that's the first step. Then we need to go, okay, what type of data do we need for that? And once we have these question answered, then we can start to talk about, okay, what type of technology can deliver this data, and are we able to analyze the data and bring the changes back into the system, which will optimize it further. So I definitely would not start with the technology. I would start with the business question, let's call it like that. And
Yeah.
if it's tenant comfort or it's energy spent, based on that, then you can decide about technology you will use.
Okay. And you mentioned about working earlier in your career in banking and IT and other vertical sectors. How would you say property compares to other sectors when it comes to the adoption of smart technology?
I love this question because there is no clear answer to that, but I'll try. Uh, I remember it was 7, 8 years ago when I first started to work for a real estate developer. I was so surprised that we basically didn't know about our product almost anything. Meaning, like when you are in the banking or in telco, and I'm not saying we can compare these verticals with real estate now. It's just about how much do we know about our product and about our customer. In banking and in telco, you know almost everything, and it's a bit scary. But when I entered real estate and someone asked the question, okay, can you please tell us how many people do we have in the building right now? There was no answer to that. I was like, okay, guys, you must be joking, right? We should know at least from the access control systems, right? Like how many people do we have in the building in the moment? Or if there's a correlation, let's say, between the occupancy of the parking lots and the people in the building, right? Do we know that or not? And we didn't. So I was definitely like overwhelmed by the lack of information within the sector, because then I realized it was not only about us; it was the common situation everywhere. So the first topic which I'd like to address everywhere is to get the data about our product and get the data about our customer. Once we get that, and it's not that complicated as it looks like. Really, you can just start to collect the data from the access control system, and at least you will start to see some trends, how the building is utilized at the end, right? The access control system, usually it's not connected to any other systems, but at least you should be able to run some reports and to be able to say, okay, on Fridays now after COVID, the building is absolutely empty. So what should we do with the cooling and heating and so on? So the similarities which I find is that even when the real estate sector is, I would say, the tempo or the pace of innovations, it's really not comparable with banking or telco. But we will see the same what happened in those sectors in a way that I do not believe in disruption of that sector. I was a huge fan of tokenization of real estate and so on and so on. But after some time, I realized that the specificity of the sector basically does not allow you to go in such a revolutionary way. It will be more of a evolutionary development. So we will see the manual processes which the real estate sector is full of getting slowly digitized, and we will start, or it already started, with things which are more, I would say, virtual, meaning they are not bound to physical objects. So like leasing contracts, CRMs. I know that for someone who is from the banking or telco, it may seem unbelievable, but it's a reality that many of the real estate companies do not have CRMs. They just still use, Excel or maybe some other types of data collection systems, but they don't use CRMs per se. Or we see now rental systems coming in instead of huge and complex Excel files. So this is I would say, the low-hanging fruit, which will slowly but surely get into the real estate, and then we will see much more once the people within the industry will start to believe that yes, the technology can really help us. Then we will see much more of the technology coming into the physical part, which is the construction, which is basically the delivery of the building themselves.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you very much, Miloš Halečka from MiddleCap. Thank you for very, very insightful conversation today. Good luck with Southworks and with Seal House in London. We look forward to visiting you and having a look round. And thanks for joining us today.